We live in interesting times, as the Chinese curse goes, and certainly a time that has tested all parts of society, all parts of business, and all business sectors. But there are some unique considerations that affect and impact the insurance industry in particular. So how is the insurance industry likely to shape up to the unfolding crisis? What are some of the implications across the different segments of insurance? And what are some of the longer term trends that the outbreak might serve to further amplify or usher in for a sector that was already experiencing some disruption from the likes of insurtech? Well, to help you understand all of that, we've invited Christelle Colman, who is the founder and MD of Elite Insurance and spokesperson for Old Mutual Insure, to come and share her perspective on the impact of COVID on insurance and the outlook for the future. Christelle, great to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
Now, the pandemic has obviously had a very lasting impact on everyone. And I think with financial services businesses in particular being left to carry the burden of comforting distressed clients, have you picked up any trends in the industry as a result of the COVID pandemic? And are you seeing things like claims rise or decline in certain classes?
Michael, I think my very first thought is just one of accelerated digitization. When last year March, when we got the call to go and work from home, I think Old Mutual managed to get almost 50,000 people working off site in 2 or 3 days. And that kind of it was just a waterfall. It went throughout the whole industry. All insurers, all brokers had to go, straight into a place of working in the digital environment. And that's been fantastic because all of a sudden, as insurers, we're focusing on other things that make it easier for us to work with our clients. Our telephone systems, how do we interact with our clients? How do we fast track our processes, that it's more digitized and that everything happens easier and is not as complex as it used to be in the past. So I think overall, there's a lot of positive to be taken out of the COVID period. Most certainly, we've seen changes. We have seen changes in behavior from consumers. Right at the outset of COVID, we had the impact of the business interruption claims that caught everyone under this. This on the back of an already grudge purchase, which is insurance, and looking towards the insurance industry to almost save the day. So yes, it's been an interesting year.
Now, they do say insurance is one of those things that you don't roll out of the bed and get excited about buying. It's sold more than bought. But all of these trends that, especially the digital and the accelerated digital trend, offer an opportunity, I think, for the insurance industry to reimagine that entire relationship and the way it services clients. When it comes to our motor vehicles, and the one thing that I've loved about the pandemic, if there's anything that we can actually enjoy about the state that we're living in, is the fact that we don't have to spend a lot of time in traffic. We're driving a bit less. And I think the data shows that roughly a third of vehicle owners on the roads are insured at the moment. How does this now impact the insurance industry? We're driving less, but we still have a high proportion of vehicles on the road, underinsured. And how does it impact those drivers who are insured?
Okay, so we have 2 parts of that question. The first part is around the change in driving behavior. So people were driving less. And let me just put focus on the word were. I mean, when last have you been out on the roads? It is as busy as it was before. Our claims volumes are right back. I mean, already, I think October last year, we hit claims volumes from pre-COVID lockdown era. So people are definitely driving again. And not all of us are privileged to be able to work from home. But for those who do work from home and who are driving less, the insurance industry has really stepped up, and Old Mutual Insure as well, of course. We've offered within I think a few weeks, we had an offering out where you could get a reduction on your premium each month by submitting your mileage through a WhatsApp bot. And then it would automatically recalculate your premium based on the reduced driving. Oh. But you must remember, we live in South Africa. It is a crime-infested environment. So we don't just have motor insurance for accidents. We have it for all sorts of other things. We have it for storm-related damages, of course, for theft, hijacking, and all the things that can go wrong. So it's not the only factor to consider. The next point that you mentioned around the uninsured drivers, so not less insured, but uninsured. I mean, it is quite incredible. We've got 11 million cars on the road, of which roughly about 1/3 are insured. It is just mind-blowing. And those are just the vehicles that we know about. We don't talk about the ghost vehicles, the unregistered vehicles. Those are just the registered vehicles on the road. So unfortunately, each and every one of us who have insurance, comprehensive insurance, when you're involved in a motor car accident and an uninsured person was the cause of that accident, you will have to claim against your policy. Your insurer won't be able to recover your excess or recover the costs from the third party, the guilty third party. So you will be seen as having submitted a claim as if you were at fault. And that unfortunately leads potentially to increased premiums, increased excesses. So it's a very difficult position to be in. But I just want to make a distinction. We used to have compulsory third-party insurance in South Africa, and it was taken away and replaced by the Road Accident Fund.
Yes.
It's bodily cover. It's not property. It's not motor third-party cover. That's never been in place. So we really need government and the authorities to drive the behavior where, similar to other countries around the world, if you renew your license, you have to prove that you've got third-party property insurance, so that if you're involved in an accident, you can pick up the costs. But we don't have that.
Yeah, I think that mandatory third party. I've been in an accident where the other driver wasn't insured, and it was actually their fault. And you can see what that does to your claims history, and it really is time to have that discussion around ensuring that that entire pool is insured. It'll bring down the cost for the entire pool as well, won't it, Christelle?
Absolutely. The concept of insurance is the contributions of the many to pay the losses of the few. At the moment, that picture is a bit warped. So we end up carrying the costs of our own accidents as well as of those who drive into us. But the finance minister did mention this in the last budget speech, the 2020 budget speech, that there will be focus again. But then, of course, COVID happened. So it's kind of been pushed to the wayside. So we don't know. It's been a discussion for a long time.
It really has, for as long as I can remember. Now, there's another piece of legislation that's also been in discussion for a very long time. It's the administrative adjudication of road traffic offences, ARTO. We always talk about this year in, year out. It's still a bill. What impact will it have on the insurance industry?
Okay, so I think in principle, the thinking behind R2 is it's good thinking. They want to improve the ability to bring the poor drivers to task, to make sure that the roads get safer. Ultimately, the idea is to improve the road safety in South Africa. The concern, of course, is around implementation. The pilot has only run in certain parts of Gauteng. It hasn't been completely successful, and now they want to roll it out in July across the whole country. There are lots of questions around the ability to, from a technology perspective, whether that's being done correctly, the policing of it, and then, of course, the severe impact on the driver if this isn't done correctly. But let's assume everything's going to be fine. Let's assume they're going to roll it out, everything's going to work, and we just talk about it in principle. At the moment, insurance is calculated, your insurance premium is calculated on your risk profile. So if you are a good driver, the R2 record would be able to prove that. At the moment, the only way that we can prove good driving is having Big Brother in your car with telematics and all those sort of tools. This would, logically speaking, would give us as insurers in future the ability to say, you've had no marks against your name, you've had no demerit points, and for that reason we give you an additional discount. And then, of course, on the other side, if you have been racking up those demerit points and you lose your license and you still drive your vehicle and you're involved in an accident, you won't have insurance cover. So there's a very punitive downside, but a potential upside if the implementation is done correctly.
Yeah, it's a big if. With so many things in South Africa, great intentions. What do they say about the road to hell sometimes? Now, I know consumers all are under a lot of pressure. In certain segments, I think some of the retailer results that I've covered recently, Mr. Price and others, show that there is some resilience, but there is an underlying weakness. So I think everyone wants to save as much money as they can. What advice would you give to consumers just to keep their insurance premiums to the absolute minimum?
I think most important is make sure that you shop around. You talk about consumers being under pressure. all of South Africa is under pressure. Insurance companies are under pressure as well. We've just gone through COVID. We've had the business interruption matter happen. We've had massive death claims. So it's a very competitive place out there. So you as a consumer, you have a lot of power. Shop around. But again, the pitfall there is don't just compare your bottom line premium. Because if you just look at bottom line premium and you don't look at your excess structure, you're going to end up paying so much more if your excess isn't in line with what you were, what you had before. So it's very important to compare apples with apples. And if you're not comfortable to do that yourself, get a broker. Often people think brokers are more expensive. Well, actually they're not, because they shop on your behalf and they have a lot of negotiating power with insurance companies, and they often end up getting you a very competitive price because they negotiate on behalf of their entire portfolio, not just on one person. So shop around, make sure that you check the excesses and the premiums and the restrictions. You might think, oh, my motor insurance premium is extremely low. Well, maybe you don't have accident cover. Make sure that you have to ask those questions. And then I think very importantly, people hate insurance, or they hate insurance. It's a grudge purchase. And now we held captive in South Africa with the crime. So we have to get it.
Until you need it. Until you need it. Then you're like, I'm so glad I took out that cover for the gate motor that's gone, or the idiot who drove into me, or me being an idiot and driving into the garage door. But yes.
Yes. And Michael, I mean, if we look at insurance statistics, the insurance industry pays out an absolute fortune, billions each year in claims, and the unhappy clients reflect a very, very small percentage of policyholders. The far majority, more than 99% of customers, are reinstated. Their lives are, if your house burns down, you think homes don't burn down. They still burn down all the time.
Yeah.
That's when insurance companies come in and reinstate your life. So don't forget how important insurance is in South Africa. Shop around and make sure that you understand the ins and outs. And then I think you always think about saving on insurance from a premium perspective. But I think often the biggest problem comes in at claim stage, because that's when people realize they don't have the cover. So you have a big burglary, 500,000 Rand burglary. You went away for the weekend and you didn't set your alarm because maybe you didn't read your policy document, because that's the normal answer. Well, actually, now you're out of pocket of 500,000 Rand because the insurance company is not going to pay your claim. Yeah. So it's very important to understand the ins and outs of your policy so that you don't end up losing very, very big amounts of, cash.
Yeah, I was going to ask you, those mistakes that consumers make when it comes to making claims, if you, in your experience, were to tease out some of the big ones to ensure that they're not rejected at the end of the day. I think the most obvious, if you've just mentioned it, is read the policy wording, understand what is an insured event and what isn't. But what are some of the biggest mistakes that you see consumers making?
I think the biggest mistake is that insurance policy holders see insurance policies as a maintenance contract. They see it as a savings contract. So I pay 2,000 Rand a month for my insurance, and I have to get that 2,000 Rand a month back in some way. It isn't that. It is a safety blanket for when things go wrong, small things or very big things. And now, you have these, unfortunately, the unhappiness comes when insurance companies reject claims. And what are those big rejections? Driving under the influence of alcohol, trying to get away from the scene of accident so that you don't get caught. Swimming pool claims. I can't tell you how many swimming pool claims we get when it is simply the pool is just old. You have to maintain your property. You have to maintain the roof of your house. That is your responsibility. The insurance company doesn't cover that. Insurance covers sudden and unforeseen events, something that you didn't expect in the ambit of the policy wording. So I think that's, the biggest problem we have is around not understanding what insurance is for, not reading the policy contract, and just assuming that everything will be fine, and that it doesn't work like that. There's a duty of care on you as the policyholder. You have to maintain your property. You have to set your alarm. You have to be sober when you get behind the wheel of your car before you drive. You can't just let anyone drive your car if you've got a nominated driver's clause on your policy. You have to make provision for an excess. Those are the things that we battle with often. It's definitely because it's ostrich syndrome. People put their head in the sand. I've got a policy. If anything goes wrong, it'll be fine. So educate yourself on that and make sure that you educate everyone in your household, your children, your grandparents, whoever is, part of this insurance policy, that they understand what the implications are. And again, I say, get a broker, or make sure if you deal with a direct insurer that you ask the questions and that you have it recorded, put things in writing, and that everything is on record.
I go through a broker, and I must say that the broker has taken me through all of that to ensure that I'm not underinsured, for example, on my household contents, because you may be paying a lower amount, but then when it does come to claiming, there's a certain percentage that you'll get out that's not to the full percent if you've been underinsured, meaning, if I should have been insured for 500,000, but I was only paying premiums on insurance of 300,000, the insurer's going to say, well, sorry, that's all you've been paying for, which is fair. But I wouldn't have known had it not been for the broker. So I think that's fantastic advice. I want to come back to your mention of technology and AI and chatbots. I always worry when I hear AI chatbots, because the initial AI chatbots were awful. And I think the consumer experience, the UX, the CX, as they call it in tech, wasn't great. How have you experienced that at Old Mutual, rolling out AI and chatbots? Has it been well received by your customers?
Well, as I said, it's been fast-tracked during the period of COVID, and you pointed it out. Was such a good comment that you made, because in the early days it was a little bit difficult, but now we are moving away from telephony as much as we can, because we have problems in South Africa. We have load shedding. Most of the telephone systems run, via the IT systems. So load shedding goes off, then the phones go off, and it's really difficult. So the one example that I can use is this reduced mileage offering that we have, and it works through a chat bot. You register on WhatsApp, and then everything happens in the WhatsApp bot. It's actually called UB for a user-based insurance. It's a bot. There's no human intervention. Every month you upload your kilometers. Every month you get a credit on your premium. And we're rolling that kind of technology out through the business into our claim space as well. So we use bots to read the claim forms, so that there's no human intervention to actually have to capture the data incorrectly. So and then we have all these digital tools where we communicate the data from the one place to the next. In the old days, it used to be, sending emails and things like that. And now it just flows. And the impact of that is faster service, more accurate service, and no contact with contact centers. And there is no doubt in my mind that we will be building on this going forward more and more and more, and reduce the human intervention. But at the same time, I must just say to you that insurance is a business of people. It's people looking after people, and we will never get away from dealing with people. That will always be there. But the mundane processing it's being more and more automated, and it gives accuracy and speed of service.
And in fact, it actually frees you up for that high touch human experience that really is what you want as a user. You don't want to be bogged down in the mundane minutia that can really be done through robotic process automation. In terms of innovation in the future, can you give us a glimpse as to what the industry is working on, what maybe Old Mutual is working on? What can we expect?
Innovation is happening at an incredible pace. I mean, we've been talking about things for so long, and all of a sudden the products are being launched like you won't believe. So, things like so long people have said, why can't I just insure my golf clubs when I go and play golf, for instance? Why do I have to insure it all the time? And we've just recently launched a product where you can actually switch your insurance on and off. Where you can just insure, for instance, your bicycle if you don't want to insure your home contents. So the consumers have been asking for solutions, and those products are being rolled out now because it's becoming more and more competitive out in the marketplace. So it's really quite amazing, and it's quite interesting to see the insurtech startups coming into the market, the brave, young, fresh startups, with their young actuaries straight out of university. And then the traditional insurers go like, oh my word, we can't insure, we can't do that. That is, they are going to, burn their fingers. They won't survive. They survive, and they do amazing things. And what it's done is it's forced the traditional insurers like Old Mutual Insure to also adopt those innovative offerings because our clients are asking for it. So all in all, it's been a fantastic time to see the innovation being pushed out.
Oh, that is phenomenal. Sorry?
I mentioned something else that's quite interesting in the agricultural space. We've just launched a solution. Be sure, I don't know if you saw that, where you could, it's digital auctioneering of cattle. You take out your insurance at point of entry to exit, and it's a collaboration of insurance and technology and animals, and all wrapped into one solution. It's just amazing. It takes the need to drive from Cape Town to Wolseley to go and look at a horse. Everything happens in the digital environment. It's quite exciting.
It amazes me, the pace of innovation. And I think, to your earlier point, really great to see the market functioning as it should. Healthy competition, the young Turks coming in, the insurtechs with their bold ideas to disrupt the market, and actually staying in business and causing the big giants, the big green, to actually say, well, we better up our game. And that's exactly what Old Mutual has done. So healthy market dynamics, and at the end of the day, as users of insurance, as consumers, I think we are the ones who are really benefiting. And it's a grudge purchase, but it's a purchase that I am very happy I made with my very first paycheck, and have been well served by being insured through the various life stages. Life insurance now that I've got two little girls. And really it is about protecting intergenerational wealth, protecting your assets, giving you peace of mind. And without it, I don't know what I would have done. So Christelle Colman, who is a spokesperson for Old Mutual Insure and founder of Elite Insurances, thank you so much for sharing some insights into the way COVID has changed the insurance game. And take care. Chat soon.